Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Robert from Learn Audio Engineering, and today we're going to talk about some of the recording techniques and mixing techniques of Andy Johns. So Andy Johns was a British sound engineer responsible for the recording, engineering, producing, and mixing of countless classic rock records that your parents probably listened to while you were being created. Why would you open with that? So he got his first taste of recording after being introduced through his older brother Glenn, who is worthy of his own video. Andy Johns started at IBC Studios in 1962, where he met people like Jimmy Page and Bill Wyman. And in 1967, he started at Olympic Studios, where there was just everyone who's anyone recording. You'd have Joe Cocker in one room and Led Zeppelin recording over here and Eric Clapton recording in another room. It was just the place to be in London. Before his 19th birthday, the younger of the Johns brothers was working as an assistant engineer to Eddie Kramer, helping him to record Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and many more artists that would go on to shape a generation of youth on both sides of the Atlantic. He also made a lasting impression with the artists that he worked with because he looked like them, he talked like them. He didn't wear the lab coat and the glasses like the other engineers, and this got him some really life-changing gigs recording bands such as the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin. In December of 1970, Johns was hired to track and mix Led Zeppelin's upcoming fourth album, and for the equipment, the band had rented the Rolling Stones mobile recording studio. Now this was the first mobile recording unit in Europe, and the group had to decide where they wanted to record with their newfound nomadity, which today is like taking your MacBook over to your friend's house and being like, hey, you want to record some tunes in your living room? So yeah, this was a big opportunity that they didn't want to waste recording at Mick Jagger's mansion, who wanted to charge them a fortune at rent. No, none of that. Fun fact, this recording bus is actually retired in a museum in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It's like 3 hours away from me and I've never gone to see it. What am I doing with my life? So anyways, the band wanted somewhere secluded and private where they could really get the creative juices flowing. Now, few rooms come close to the mojo and loose organic vibe as Headley Grange, a 3-story stone building formerly used as a poorhouse for the orphaned and infirmed. It was later converted into a private residence in 1870, and they didn't seem to complain about noise because a ton of bands used it as a rehearsal space throughout the 1970s. So during a residence at the Grange, Andy Johns would create one of the most memorable and most sampled drum sounds in modern music history. John Bonham had received a new Ludwig drum kit, which was set up inside one of the rehearsal spaces that was commonly used for recording, and he wasn't happy with any of the drum sounds present on the album so far. So one night, after a session, everyone goes out to the bar to get dickered, except for Andy and Bonzo. I know, shocker, right? And Andy's like, hey Bonzo, check this out. These other guys here, these drudgeons, they don't know how to record a drum sound. I'll show you how it's done. So the two of them snuck the kit into the lobby of the 3-story stone building and put up 2 Barodynamic M160 double ribbon microphones on the first floor balcony, and the room sound perfectly captured the space and weight of Bonham's playing. But it's not just the stairwell that makes this beat so famous. Johns absolutely crushes the drums with a limiter after sending them to Jimmy Page's Benson Echarec steel echo drum delay device. So let's take a look at how to recreate this signature sound in the box, and then we'll take a look at a few more of Johns' favorite techniques. So this video is getting way too long, so I'm gonna split it in half. In this video, we're gonna talk about 5 of Andy Johns' favorite recording and mixing techniques, and in the next video, I'll do a more in-depth look into his style of mixing. So to recall these techniques in the future, make sure to grab the free classic rock production cheat sheet in the description of this video. It also has a bonus tip that I don't have time to include in this video, so you don't wanna miss out. So I'm going to demonstrate how to recreate the Levee breaks drum sound. Now, I don't have John Bonham or a real drum kit or Headley Grange, but we're going to try and get as close as we can. So here's Bonzo's drum part on its own. Okay, great, but it doesn't really have the same open feel without the room sound. So let's send it to a bit of reverb. There we are. Now John sent Bonzo's drums to that Benson Echarec, and for this we're going to use the Echo plugin with 0 feedback set to a 16th note repeat. Having the feedback at 0 will give you a single 16th note repeat. Because I'm using the Echo as an insert instead of a send, I want 100% dry and just a tiny bit of wet to feel the presence of our Echo. Yeah, so you get this really cool ghosted note after each downbeat. So next he squashed the echo with a limiter to give us that signature pump. You can really see it clamping down on the kick and a bit on the snare, but overall evening everything out. I've used a longer release time to swell the drums between every downbeat, which also helps to fill in a bit of the space at this slower tempo. Awesome, a classic drum sound using reverb, delay, and heavy limiting. So placing the delay before the limiter glues everything together, making the repeat appear as if part of the performance, while also giving the drums a chance to breathe before being crushed by the limiter. Here's one of John's favorite vocal delay tricks. We use the Logic Delay Designer in stereo mode. Let's listen to the chorus with the dry vocals.
No, since the last time that we talked. Whoa, since the last time that we talked. Whoa, since the last time that we talked. It hasn't got any better.
So the vocal performance has a lot of energy, but it feels very raw in the mix, and we'll need to round out its space. We could use reverb, but I've already used a fair bit already, and John's trick promises to give us all the space without the excess mud that comes from a big old cloud of reverb. We'll begin by unsyncing the tempo lock so we can set delay times by millisecond. Set the first tap to a short delay between 25 to 35 milliseconds. This plays off the Haas effect to create an automatic vocal double effect.
No, since the last time that we talked. Whoa, since the last time that we.
You can blend this in as desired. Pulling the effect back a bit will keep it from blurring the intelligibility of the lyrics while still adding another layer of depth. Next, we'll click to create a second tap with a much longer delay time between 350 and 650 milliseconds. Now this all depends on the tempo of the song and what feels right, because this is going to sit way down in the mix and provide that reverb tail effect that is much more felt than it is heard. So that really fits the energy of the performance a lot more. So let's solo the vocal and take a look at what's happening.
No, since the last time that we talked.
So we have these two repeats that add some thickness to the vocal and give us the illusion of a room. So let's check out the before and after once more. Oh, also this plugin allows you to add feedback onto a tap. So I added a little bit of feedback onto our second tap to get it a little bit closer to that reverb tail feel. Awesome. So we get a vocal sound that is rounded and has space, almost like reverb, but without having that dense cloud spreading all over everything. So again, this is about creating multiple layers of depth and space rather than necessarily an obvious effect. So less is more. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple microphone techniques used by Andy Johns. The first is his guitar method. So he uses a straight mic and an angled mic, and these give you two different frequency flavors. You get the straight mic gives you more high frequencies and the angled mic gives you more low frequencies. So I played the same guitar part with 2 different guitars, and I've got them hard panned, a Les Paul in the left channel and a Stratocaster in the right channel. So this is something that Johns might have done. Let's take a listen. So not only does the double tracking give you a really wide and big sound, but it's the miking that really makes these guitars shine. I'm going to ungroup these and solo them. And if I play with the balance between them, I can really change the tone of the guitar. It makes it much more nasally, much more honky. You can hear the high frequencies a lot more. Or if I take that out, we have a much more rounder, much more mellow sound. So between the balance of these 2 mics, you can really get something that suits your mix's needs. Up next, we'll look at an alternative miking technique that Andy likes to use while recording bass. Now, it's common to record a DI signal along some kind of microphone on the bass amp, but Johns warns that it's possible for some phase cancellation to take some of the low end out of the DI signal. Now, because the DI doesn't have to travel through the room, it is recorded slightly faster than the close microphone, causing some phase cancellation. So when we compare the position of these 2 waveforms, we can clearly see that the big troughs don't line up. The close mic is a little bit late, so there's going to be some phase problems between the 2 perspectives of this bass. So what do we do about it? Johns recommends using the 3-to-1 rule by placing a large diaphragm condenser microphone 4 to 6 feet away from the amp to provide the flavor and the top end of the bass sound. So let's listen to the DI and then we'll add in the far mic. Great. Now let's hear that back in with the track. So that really adds more hiss and pop to the bass. And of course you can add some distortion or saturation to really dirty it up while still keeping the clean bottom end from the DI signal. Now our last technique uses room mics, not on drums, but on guitar. So John explains that room mics aren't really great for guitar, especially with faster tempos and for really busy playing. But if you want to make one guitar sound really big and lush in a slow tempo or a ballad, halftime kind of feel, a room mic can be a great way to do this. So here's what he does. He takes his signature straight on angled microphone technique and pans that to one side. And then he takes a room mic about 4 to 6 feet away from the amp and pans that all the way to the other side. And it sounds like the guitar player is playing within this 3-dimensional space. Check it out. Hey, thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Leave a like if you did, and consider subscribing to this channel for more weekly videos. Remember to grab the cheat sheet in the description below, and if you have a suggestion for which engineer or producer I should feature on this series, let me know in the comments. And until next time, happy mixing.